Hi, I'm John Espin, and in this video, I'm going to answer the question, what is Stupid Robot Fighting League? Stupid Robot Fighting League is a crazy sport invented in small rural town Te Puke, Bay of Plenty, New Zealand. It was inspired by a child's instinct to poke a dead thing with a stick. In its simplest form, Stupid Robot Fighting League is poking rubbish with a stick. But it's a bit flashier than that. There are two fighters, and they will operate the stupid robots. The stupid robots hang in what we call the rectagon. The rectagon is a three-dimensional frame in which the robots can roll freely back and forth. In the rectagon is where all the action happens. Now, to control the stupid robots, we have 4 poles attached to the hands and the feet. A stupid robot is a life-sized, humanoid-shaped marionette with its joints held together with wire loops. Its parts are mainly made out of hard plastic things like children's toys, vacuum cleaners, anything that has a hard plastic shell. To give the stupid robots more personality, what we do is we get a hot glue gun and we glue more rubbish to them to give them faces and ears and all sorts of interesting things to give them more personality. All stupid robots are required to have angry eyebrows, otherwise it's not a real stupid robot. The way we control the stupid robots is by the 4 poles attached to its hands and its feet, so those stick outside of the rectagon and they're held onto by the fighter. Also, the feet are controlled by rubber boots that the fighter wears, and those poles are attached to the boots and to the feet of the stupid robot. If the fighter kicks, the stupid robot kicks, and if the fighter pokes with one of the sticks, the stupid robot punches. The fighters have 2 minutes to kick and punch the other person's stupid robot into oblivion. The aim is to inflict as much damage onto the other person's stupid robot and minimize the damage to yours. What can make this task difficult is the fact that each stupid robot is poorly made and made from poor materials. Their construction sees absolutely no love, and component failure is always around the corner. Due to the wire loops holding the limbs together being fairly thin, that can break as well. If an arm or a leg becomes detached from the stupid robot, the fighter is no longer allowed to use that particular limb, which means we've actually had fights where the fighter has been left with no arms and no legs to operate, and the stupid robot has just been hanging from the frame and getting boofed in the head. The main aim is to punch your opponent's stupid robot's head right off, separating the head from the body. The body flops down, and that's what's called a knockout and an instant win. If the fight continues for the full 2 minutes and there's no knockout, we perform what's called a limb count. A limb count is where the referee counts every single limb that's still attached to each stupid robot, and the robot with the most limbs still attached is the winner. If at the end of the fight there's a rare occurrence of no limbs actually being attached and no knockout, we then go to what's called a sudden death round. Sudden death is when the 2 fighters just go at it, no timer, and the first person to lose the head or a limb is the loser. Some additional notes for you. This is about the taunts. Now, you may notice with Stupid Robot Fighting League that previous to the fights, the 2 fighters trash talk each other, when in fact it's not actually true. The fighter is actually trash talking himself or herself. In Stupid Robot Fighting League with the taunts, the fighter is required to give the taunt to the other fighter to say to them, which means basically the fighter is taunting himself or herself. This also means that the fighter could actually get their opposition to pay them a really nice compliment, but they have to say it to them like they're giving them a good telling off. This means that everything is just silly and funny and doesn't mean too much, and everybody's just having a bit of fun. Now, the taunts don't work so well live, but because we edit them in just before the fight starts, it's a nice silly punch just before the fight starts. Weight classes. Now, with weight classes, you have weight classes in the world, but Stupid Robot Fighting League, we don't have any weight classes, mainly because if you make your stupid robot too heavy, it will hang and it will basically break its own neck and the body will just flop down. You'll get knocked out in no time. The heaviest stupid robot we have is called Mishmash, from the designed in the USA, and he's 8 kgs, and he's on the precipice of disaster but he seems to do quite well. So 8 kgs I think is probably about as heavy as you'd ever want to go with a stupid robot. With height, it doesn't seem to matter too much how tall the stupid robot is. We have quite short ones versus quite tall ones, and we have short ones that do quite well against the tall ones. So that doesn't seem to give anybody an advantage at all. Fitness. Stupid Robot Fighting League seems to be quite a good thing to try for people of varying levels of fitness. We've had a lovely 65-year-old lady had a go. She came, she smashed stuff, she had a good time, she wanted to have another go. We also had buff fit guys having a go. They smashed stuff and enjoyed themselves. The thing is that if everybody has been doing their job, at the end of the fight, they'll be having a bit of a puff because it is a little bit strenuous. But you can fight depending on the level of how fit you are. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope it's helped you understand a little bit more about Stupid Robot Fighting League.
John Cena send me the memes. John Cena send me the memes. In a bin full of cans or a can full of beans in a can that is signed, oh it means so much to me.